Gentlemen, thank you for being here with us. This is our second year to meet with y'all to get a feel, a vibe of CCISD. Let's jump right in with security. I know there's some new legislation that came down with armed officers on every campus and schools. Where are we with that, Chief Warnke?
Well, that's House Bill 3. We just got the approval last night at the Board of Trustees. What we're doing is we're going to get 33 new full-time positions, and we're going to put an art person at every elementary campus.
Is every campus staffed with those officers?
They will be. We're not there yet, but we're working hard to get there.
How many officers do you need as far as right now?
If everything in the pipe gets done, we're 15 short now. We'll be doing interviews next week and the week after. So we're hoping to be real close.
Can we help you with applicants or people that are looking?
Sure.
It's a good chance to pitch.
Anyone who's interested in working for CCISD, go to ccisd.us, go to the jobs page. You can apply for a safety officer, senior safety officer. If you're a police officer, then definitely consider us because we're a great place to work.
Now we are aware that it's been some extensive training leading up to the first day of school. You want all of your officers to be prepared in case a tragedy does happen, that we pray that it doesn't, but we want our babies to be safe as parents, as families, as a community. How is the training going?
Oh, it's great. We had our first day yesterday. It was nice and hot. But we were out at the range. We were also at the Old Carroll High School doing active shooter simulations. And then we were at the Lozano site doing CPR and use of force training.
I know over the last couple of years it's not been as easy to get onto campuses. When I show up, I still have to go through the process that everybody has to go through. If you can remind parents what initial steps are there to kind of keep people safe.
Well, you're right. As security goes up, convenience goes down. But you know, we're protecting our most precious commodity. So we have our vestibules. You'll need to go in, check in, provide an ID, get scanned, and then you'll be allowed into the building.
We're aware that last year we had intruder audits at the schools. Were all schools tested?
75% of all schools in the state of Texas were tested. So about 75% of CCISD schools were tested. And I'm very pleased to say that any small issues that were addressed in the very beginning were fixed real quick, some bureaucratic stuff. And the last semester we had a perfect bill of health. So, you know, we're really working hard to be perfect.
And Dr. Hernandez, being the lead of the board, head of the schools, providing the funding that he needs to accomplish his goals of getting those officers on every campus and making sure he has what he needs. Where are y'all with that?
Well, you know, just as it's a priority across the state, it's a priority here for us in CCISD as well. We really started this topic of safety several years back when we put our first vestibules in the schools, and we've made that a district-wide initiative. So all of our schools now, old ones and new ones, all have the safety vestibule. And so regardless of the fact that it's a state mandate now, it is something that we support 100% and are doing everything we can with the resources.
In case tragedy does occur, how soon are parents notified and how are they notified?
So it is one of those things that you have to gauge the situation. You know, it's always situational, but we would say immediately, once the school administration can figure out what are the details, because we would rather the parents have the information from us and accurate information instead of just random things that start flying all over social media. So as soon as we can assess the situation by the administration, get Chief Warnke and his team involved, get us involved as well, then we will communicate to the parents of the school, or if it needs to be district-wide.
It seems like over the last couple of years we've seen an escalation of fights on campuses. What's being done to address that, to reduce those, to limit those types of melees from breaking out?
Well, that's certainly something that no school administrator wants to see. It is unfortunate. What we have found is that over time, due to the pandemic, we've had and still continue to have many, many kids return back to school that maybe have sat out since the pandemic. It's almost as if they forgot what the expectations are in schools and how to behave and respect for authority and doing what's told. So what we do there is that it's just as serious as it is, you know, today as it was years ago. We don't want it in our schools. It needs to be addressed. And if it means addressing these individuals that think it's okay, then that's what we have to do. And a lot of times that's tough for the student and sometimes parents to accept. But you know, similar to churches and hospitals, you know, that is not a place for that kind of behavior to take place. So we want to address it immediately, deal the consequences that need to be dealt with that student and the situation. And because there's so many different situations, that's what we have to assess first.
And the same question for you, essentially.
Yeah, it's a campus level investigation, and then they determine what the cause was and then to take appropriate action. Sometimes it involves us. Most of the time it's just a school discipline issue.
What leads to fights most of the time is bullying. So how is CCISD addressing bullying, and are there programs out there for these children to, of course, help out with that?
There are many things we're doing now that we've continued over the last couple of years that maybe we weren't doing years past. But there is a process, and the most important thing that we remind students and parents is that, you know, don't keep that kind of stuff to yourself. It's something that needs to be reported and shared with a teacher, a coach, a counselor, a principal. There's so many people on the campus that want to help and prevent that kind of behavior. It's not okay. That's not what we come to school for. Some tend to hold back and not want to report it, whereas others have no problem reporting it. The best way we can help is to have it reported. We even have, for our district, a reporting system that they can go online. They can give their name if they want to be specific, or they can just report it that there's a concern with particular bullying taking place at a school. And then that helps the administration know right away, district and campus, what's happening, and then we can address it. But that is, like you say, where it starts. It can sometimes get worse, so we have to get involved and put a stop to it.
Is there a way that these students or staff can report this anonymously?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that process that we have, Let's Talk, is a process. They can go on the district website and then just click the link, and you can report what particular school it is, what is the situation going on. It comes to the district and the campus administration where they can follow up.
We know, switching topics here, teacher retention. Attracting teachers in has always been a challenge in this field. It's gotten tougher as inflation's gone up and the financial issues people are having to deal with at home. What are you doing to attract new hirees, and bring them in and keep them here?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great question and something we're seeing nationwide. There is a shortage of teachers out there, obviously. Pay is always an issue that we want to address, and so CCISD does well with compensation. We do especially well with benefits for our employees, where we'll pay 100% of the employee costs to their insurance, which can equal anywhere from $6,500 to $7,000, and that's expensive. But recruiting is ongoing. We have to remember that we're not just recruiting to start the school year, we have to recruit year-round. So we attend many job fairs each semester. We go to colleges, not just around the area, but across the state. We hold many job fairs here in CCISD, and we appreciate that the city as well does them at the Bank Center and other locations. But we're all looking for employees. Yes, we are in education, but so are other industries and careers looking for workers. And we just have to continue to provide the best work environment for them, and try to do better each year. We know it's difficult, but we do what we can do. And this year, you know, many districts weren't able to give a raise, but we were. We were able to give a 1.5 raise to our teachers and a 1% to our administrators and everybody else. We've raised our hourly pay for the most important people, like bus drivers and food service and people like that, cafeteria workers, all of them. So every position is important. They all contribute to our success. And if we could do more, we would, and we'll just continue to try to find ways to find the resources.
You just recently had a job fair for teachers. How did it turn out? Are you happy with the result?
Very happy. It was one of our best ever. We hired and walked away from that job fair, I think, with a good number of hires. I want to say 100 and something, but I don't have the exact number. And that job fair was for all positions. It wasn't just teachers. But you know, when there's a shortage of bus drivers and you can find them, you want to get them. But we continue to have job fairs, continue to hire. We're not 100% yet, but we just keep plugging away as the school year starts and continues into the year.
I would also want to be familiar with the program Speak Up.
Speak Up is an anonymous reporting program that we use. You can report anything, bullying, criminal activity. I want to also add, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We are a Capturing Kids' Heart district, and you know, if you can get it ahead of the curve, so to speak, meaning you address character, sometimes you can prevent a lot of those issues. And we also have a bully-proof program that we teach in our elementary campuses that one of my supervisors teaches. So there's a lot of things CCISD is doing to address bullying, but I really like the Capturing Kids' Hearts, because if you can teach someone to care and to not get involved in that in the first place, then you don't need all the backside. anonymous reporting and stuff like that.
A lot of that has to do with the child and the student feeling prepared their first day of school throughout the entire year. That's including supplies. I know that the new dress code now issued with clear backpacks. CCISD does have a website in case students and their families are looking for supplies, resources, backpacks.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we are selling the clear backpacks on our school stores. They can go to the district website or even just ask about it, and they can purchase one through the school district and their particular school. Some even have their logos and mascots on the clear backpack. The other thing too is just the appreciation for the whole community coming together. We just had an event this past weekend, the Lead First, also sponsored by Driscoll Children's Hospital at Miller High School. We gave out free over 1,900 backpacks. The turnout was amazing. I wish I could show y'all some pictures, but the line went from the front of the entrance to Miller High School all the way to the cemetery on the back side down the road just to get in. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take those partnerships, but they were able to get supplies, backpacks, free physicals, immunizations, all in a one-stop shop.
I'm glad that you said partnerships, because going back really quickly before you leave about safety, I think it takes the village, everybody, the entire community, not only your officers, not only the staff, students, parents, families.
Yes.
How can our parents help the school district and the staff make sure that our children are safe in school?
You want that, sir?
Well, be part of the team. Understand that the interest of the student is our preeminent interest. So anytime we address anything, that is foremost in our mind. Understand that, know that the student is supremely important to everything we do. We are student focused, whether it's in education, transportation, or police and security. Everything we do is about the kids. Keep that in mind whenever we have to reach out and communicate with you, and know that that's what's in our hearts.
And I know you're a father yourself, so I know
am.
exactly what we are feeling as you are. So thank you so much for taking care of our children.
When I onboard any of my police or security staff, I tell them we'll be successful in this job if they do one thing, and that's care. And that is throughout the entire CCISD. It's a great place, and if you care, you'll be very successful.
Dr. Hernandez, what other incentives does CCISD offer their teachers?
Yeah, so we really try not just to focus on pay per year. We know that's important, but we try to focus on their benefits for all of our employees. So we know that CCISD's benefits package compares among the state's best districts to offer that. And while it may not be 100% on everything, their medical is covered up to a certain percentage, but then anything like the extras, vision, dental, cancer, whatever they choose to put in it, would be something in addition that they would cover. I would also add too that we give a $15,000 life insurance to all of our employees. And we know how important that is. We have found over the course of some years where families really struggle in times of need like that. That's not something we want to happen, but in reality it does. And the bigger the district, the more often you're going to come across situations like that. So we're always just trying to find ways to make CCISD the place that our teachers and employees want to be. And so it's to just accept, here's where we are and what can we do to make their situation better.
We've learned a lot of things from the pandemic. I think it's safe to say we've moved from that now. What holdovers are you finding actually have worked, have benefited CCISD? And then when it comes to STAR testing, the way that's implemented now, all online, all those results that way.
Well, you know, that's crazy that we think back now, but all things happen for a reason, right? And that was a situation when the pandemic came up, we were not ready and aware of where we stood exactly with accessibility for many families and students. And since then, as a result of the pandemic, we are in a much better place now moving forward, and we've kept that in place. So we're almost a one-to-one district where every one student has access of their own with laptops. We make it available, the Wi-Fi capabilities in the neighborhoods. I remember there was a time where we were parking school buses in parking lots just to give those neighborhoods that accessibility. And we learned then, you may do something up to this point, but what can you do to go above and beyond? And so we learned that. The other thing that the pandemic has done has really made us more aware of the needs of families, not just our students, but their immediate families. And we know that a lot of that is out of the students' control. So whatever we can do to help the parents get through whatever their situation is, the better for us.
Is that as easy as just reaching out, calling an office?
Not so much, because a lot of families don't want to share the hardships that they're going through, so we just make them aware of what we have to offer. And so some examples are these opportunities like we just talked about, where there are some opportunities for free immunizations, physicals, supplies. In the district, we also have a closet for the community. We have a food bank ourselves in the district where families can come and get assistance with groceries. They can get assistance with clothing. We have social workers in the district now, more so than we ever had, and that's as a result of the pandemic, to reach out to the families in all VLCs, that's the vertical learning communities of the feeder high school, so the elementaries and middle schools that feed to that high school have access to this service. We continue to do as much as we can with the partnerships, like Barbi was saying. We had partnerships, but since the pandemic, we've increased the number and the level of partnership. So something we're doing right now with UT Rio Grande Valley is they provide some telehealth, which gives any student and their families 4 sessions of counseling for all middle schools and high schools at their access. That's between them and the service. And so we recognize that what we were doing during the pandemic was going to be an extra help for families, and we've continued to do it even post-pandemic.
I feel that a lot of kids are still trying to catch up from the pandemic when it comes to testing at grade level, the STAR testing. How is CCISD, where does it stand when it comes to that testing?
Yeah, so the state did move to complete online testing. That's a big change in and of itself, because many learners prefer the hard paper and reading, but now to have to take a test the entirety on computer is a transition that we're still working with. But we have the capability now as a district, and so we're meeting that requirement by the state, and that'll just get better every year because it becomes that expectation, and all districts have to move that way anyway. So we're in a good position. As far as class size, what y'all were asking about a while ago, we know we have our state laws, 22-1 in the elementaries. Middle schools, I think we're at a 26-1. Anytime we get to 26, that's a little too big. If you're asking me personally, I remember in my days of teaching, I would have as many as 30 in a class. But that's too much. So I would say anywhere from 24, 25 in the middle schools and high schools to 1 is probably average.
You just described you're seeing more growth at the lower levels, which is why you're expanding a lot of your elementary and middle schools and into these high schools. Any future bonds in the works that you'd like to see? Any funding issues? Because people are hesitant right now to spend their money with prices as high as they are on everything across the board.
Yeah, that's a great question, and we've been fortunate that our community is very pro-education, and we just thank our community for being so supportive to the school district and what we've done over the past 10 years. We've been fortunate to pass 5 bonds. They've been bonds of high need. We have some very old schools that we've been able to address, but at the same time, you see a lot of shift within the city out to the south side, and so you're going to have to build new schools to accommodate the growth out there, but at the same time, not forget you have older schools that need to be addressed as well. So we've, every 2 years, we've come back with a different package. The other thing that we've seen is some decreased enrollment in some parts of the city, and so what people, I think, eventually realize is that when you have such small schools, you're having to fully staff the school with administration, nurses, teachers, custodians. When you can take the smaller schools and put them into one, you now are cutting down on that cost for the district. So what happens from that is that you can use some of that to go to pay raises and other things that the district is needing. And we've been very fortunate to have done a really good job on that. A good example is Cullen Place Elementary School, which is going to take students from Meadowbrook, Montclair, and Woodlawn into one school just because they were becoming too small at their current sites. And many of those schools were built with the outdoor wings. We want our kids inside the school at all times for safety and weather.
Especially
issues.
with the heat right now.
Yes, exactly.
For the schools that are still outside, moving forward, for instance, for example, Hamlin still has an outside area. What are we going to do about those schools?
Yeah, so I think we're down to maybe just 1 or 2 that will still remain with outdoor wings. Hamlin was in our last bond package. They'll be getting a brand new school to open in 2026. And all the other elementaries, for that very reason, Montclair, Meadowbrook, Woodlawn, were all outdoor schools, are now being put inside a brand new school. And I think the community appreciates that. So our focus has been safety and security, perimeter fencing as well, going around the schools just to keep our kids safe. And we want their parents to feel that our kids, their kids, are also safe at all times. And so we do have a few more schools that are very, very small that we probably need to look at consolidating. But we have not built that package yet for the upcoming package.
Dr. Hernandez, thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially leading up to school. But by the time people see this, it'll be good to go. They'll be having their kids back in. We wish you nothing but the best this year. Thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all's support.
Thank you.
We're hearing from a lot of parents that the supplies that they need, are a little expensive. Tax-free weekend is a great time to go get those supplies, but the problem is school's starting much sooner than it has in the past. So are there any efforts to talk with our elected leaders to get them to push that back or to change that? Are you in support of that? How do you see that?
There haven't been any decisions as far as that goes, but yes, conversations, and I would be supportive of that. As we look at schools across the state, many more districts have started to begin their school year a lot earlier, regardless of what weekend comes the tax-free. But that's a very important time for families. Many families are working hard. They're trying to time everything with when their paydays and checks come in. What we have heard is that in some cases supplies are hard to find. That may just be where they're going. That's why we try to do more for the district by selling on school stores, and then the free giveaways that we do on the weekends. But yeah, I would support extending that for families.
I have one more question. When it comes to mental health, it's a huge component to having a successful education, especially since the pandemic, we've seen a lot of mental health issues, especially the little ones. So what programs are in place, not only in the high school, but the elementary level as well?
Yeah, so we have I described some in the middle school and high schools, but some of the programs are district-wide, and a good example is what Chief shared on the Capturing Kids' Hearts. There's so many components to that, but really it's just connecting with our employees, whether it be the teacher, administrator, with the students, and trying to get as connected as they can to the families. Because again, the more connected we are, the more open they will be to share what the student situation is or what the family situation is. And where we can provide assistance is what we want to do. We're proud of what we've done over the past several years with Capturing Kids' Hearts. We started the 1 year, but up to now, which I think is now in our 4th or 5th year of Capturing Kids' Hearts, we have up to 25 national showcase schools. And that just tells you what's happening here is being recognized across the nation. And why do we do it? We do it for our students, our kids, and their families.
Dr. Hernandez, we really do appreciate you being open and honest with us, sharing some time out of your busy schedule. Thank you for being with us.
Yes. Wishing you the best year ever.
Thank you.